Good evening, guys. Am I audible to you? Online students, am I audible to you? Am I audible to you? Yes. Please turn on the cameras if possible. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can text in the comment section or you can unmute yourself and ask me doubt. Okay. Okay. Welcome to the economy orientation class. You've already gone through two orientation classes for polity and international relations. Okay. How many of you had gone through economy or anything slightly related to economy during your graduation? What were your graduation subjects? Yes. MBA in finance, yes. Little bit, yes, definitely. At least the terms are not so unfamiliar to you, right? Anybody from online? No. So, see, the reason why did I ask you this question? Most of the students, whenever they find it difficult to grasp this subject, they have one complaint to make. That is, sir, this is not my graduation subject. I didn't have any background from this subject. Okay, this is the common misconception. See, let me tell you, most of them say that I'm from humanities background, I'm from science background, so probably it is difficult for me to grasp this subject or the subject. Right now you have polity, history, geography, economy, so it's the combination of multiple static humanities and little bit of technical science subjects, what I believe personally. Economy, Indian economy, the concepts that we are talking about, we're going to discuss about, they're mostly technical in nature. For example, if I have to talk about the inflation, if I have to talk about the fiscal deficit, I need to talk about a little bit of technical details which are more favorable to both humanity background students and also science background students. Even the same thing goes with the geography. I'm sure you'll understand this better when you'll go through geography orientation class. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to, nobody is at a disadvantaged position if they haven't gone through economy during their graduation stage. Okay. If you see, most of the toppers are equally distributed from both humanities and science backgrounds. Somebody from MBA, somebody a medical student, someone from DU, from humanities, right? So everybody needs to go through this subject to the extent that is needed and expected from this exam. Our intention is not to do any PhD from this subject. Okay. Okay. Little bit technical, some factual knowledge is necessary. Okay. You know what is the weightage of economy, Indian economy? So when I say economy, I'm talking about some sort of economic basics and also more to do with Indian economy. So it's mostly to do with Indian economy, right? So what do you think is the weightage for Indian economy in prelims? Want to take a guess? How many questions? There are around 15 questions on an average. Okay. See, look at this. In 2013, is it visible to you? Should I drag this aside? No. In 2023, there are 17 questions, next 11, 18. If you see last 5 years, last 5 to 6 years, on an average, at least there are 15 questions which are asked from this. 15 questions, minimum 15 questions, which means 15 into 2, 30 marks. Even if you can answer net 10 questions, leaving behind adjusting it with the negative marking, net 10 questions, which means net 20 marks. 20 marks from one subject is going to create a buffer. You know what is the cutoff last year, general cutoff? 92. 92. There are many other subjects: polity, geography, history, science and technology, IR, miscellaneous topics, right? So you have lot to cover there, but just assume that earning or scoring 20 marks from one subject is going to create a buffer, right? So for that reason, it is not that difficult also. Out of 15 questions, I gave you the buffer of 5 mistakes, net 5 mistakes as well, right? And with respect to the mains in GS paper 3, from economy, you are going to get, from economy, you are going to get uh, 8 questions, 4 10-marker questions and 4 15-markers. 40 plus 60, 100, minimum 100. Okay, it has been the trend in the last 5 years. If you see 100 in 2025, 100 in 2024, 23, 22, 21. So last 5 years, 100 questions, 4 10-markers, 4 15-markers fixed. Okay, GS paper 3 has been a difficult paper for most of the students. If you see the topper scores in the GS papers, GS paper 3 would be the least scoring subject or least scoring paper. Okay, I don't blame economy as the only subject which has been difficult for them. So there are other subjects within the GS paper 3: economy, disaster management, security, environment, and science and technology. It's a combination of multiple subjects, so sometimes it becomes difficult. But economy comprises of the significant portion of the paper. Out of 250, 100 marks are coming from one subject, where the paper is a combination of 5 subjects. So that can really give you good push. Out of 100, if you can score somewhere around 60 to 70, it can give you a push for 30 more marks on the rest of the topics. So 100, you can touch the 3-digit number from GS paper 3, right? So this is the significance of economy, both in prelims and mains. Very, very important. Okay, there are very few subjects which can weigh the same amount of weightage both in prelims and mains. This is one subject, and of course, it is needless to say its significance and importance in the personality test or interview, what we say, because most of the questions are in the interview questions tend to be asked from the current affairs. If you open the newspaper, most of the current affairs are based on economy or politics. Okay, so when they want to test your understanding on current affairs, they rely upon this economic news, right? So across all the stages of exam, economy has been the important source. Okay, now so what is the syllabus for it? Is it visible? Okay. So this is the syllabus. See, as such, if you go to the notification and if you find the syllabus for prelims, it is not detailed. It is a simple line. So Indian economic issues, issues of national and international importance. That's it. The syllabus has not been delineated detailed. Unlike in the main syllabus, there is a specific detailed syllabus. Okay, there are around 10 lines for syllabus, 10 lines of syllabus for economy. So that is why it is difficult for people to clear often prelims, though they have a decent understanding of mains topics. Okay, so for the point of view, for the sake of prelims, I have divided the entire economy subject into these themes. These themes are important for each and every exam. For example, let's say money supply. Money supply is one topic where there are around 8 questions, on an average one question. Okay, so topic wise weightage in the last 10 years, this is the trend in the last 10 years. Okay, okay, and banking and monetary policy, the most important topic, 37 questions, very, very important. On an average 3 questions every year, minimum 3 questions, right? And financial markets, 12 questions. Let me tell you, there was a time where there were hardly any questions which were asked from financial markets, but things have changed now. Things have changed now. The stock markets have become so important for the economy. Of course, you might have seen in the recent changing patterns among the investors how they used to invest in the bank deposits earlier, but now people are looking for stock markets. People are investing in shares, bonds, futures, options, derivatives. Okay, so as long as these financial markets are so important to the Indian economy, you will tend to see questions from these topics. Okay, last year there were around 2 to 3 questions. Okay, before that there were 3 questions. So this has been increasing trend now. Earlier it was not the case. Fiscal policy, 23 questions, on an average 2 questions. Last year there were 2 questions directly asked from fiscal policy, like budget. Okay, external sector, 24 questions, equally important, on an average 2 questions. Inflation, 9, 1 question. Probably this year I'm expecting a question because it has been in news this year. Agriculture and industry, as such, they are pretty much what do you call mains oriented topics rather than prelims topics, but still questions have been asked from prelims, asked in the prelims from these two topics. when it comes to industry and infrastructure, you may not find too many questions in prelims. It's pretty much mains oriented topic. Okay, so these are certain themes. Apart from that, there are certain microeconomic topics like GDP and national accounting. That means how GDP is calculated, GNP is calculated, national income is calculated, how different indices like index of industrial production, how are they calculated. So that's about it. And there are certain microeconomic topics like demand and supply, consumer behavior. These kind of topics are there. As such, not very important. They're not very important. We'll deal with as a last priority once we are done with all these topics. Okay. So from time to time, once in 2 years or 3 years, you may find a question on these topics. Otherwise, you don't find questions from these topics very frequently. Okay. So this is about the topic-wise weightage. Okay. First of all, let's look at this money supply. What is money supply and what kind of questions are generally asked? See, before getting into the question, first and foremost, from this chapter, we are going to discuss about what exactly is money. So our understanding of money is quite different from the original definition of money. Okay. Whenever we talk about money, we talk about only the physical currency note. The definition of money includes not just this physical currency notes, even our bank deposits. Okay. So who do you know who prints the currency? It is the RBI. Okay. So on the currency note, there is a promise, there is a signature of Reserve Bank of India governor saying that I promise you to pay this amount of money. So this is a promise made by the governor, RBI governor, who was appointed by the government under a law, RBI Act 1934. Okay. So it is a statutory body and government is the 100% owner of that particular bank, and that bank is issuing you this currency note. Otherwise, it's just a piece of paper. Just remove the RBI governor signature and it is nothing. It worth nothing. Even if it is a 500 rupees paper, right? So there was a time when currency was issued based on metal coins. Not in the modern day economy, in the medieval economy, the face value and the inherent value of the currency used to be the same. That means if it is a 100 rupees coin, the metal that was ingrained in that coin is equal to exactly the 100 rupees. So now in the modern day economy, you don't have this kind of commodity money. So in modern day economy, we have fiat money. That means it doesn't have any inherent value. It only has face value. That means you accept the value based on the trust that you have over the monetary authority, which is known as the Reserve Bank or Central Bank. In India, the central bank is known as Reserve Bank of India. Each and every country has their own central banks. Like in India, they have US Federal Bank. In UK, they have Bank of England. So that's how each and every country would have their central banks. So it is a responsibility of the central bank to issue currency. Okay. Now the question is, once it is accepted, it is considered as a legal tender. Why it is considered as a legal tender? Because you cannot deny the acceptance of this payment. See, if somebody is paying me in check, like they signed a check and gave it to me for any kind of payment, I can deny it. I may demand for cash. If somebody is paying me through UPI or any other format, I can deny it. But if somebody is paying me in cash, I cannot deny it because it is considered as a legal tender. Why is it considered as a legal tender? Because of the signature of Reserve Bank of India. So there is no better authority who can promise you that value better than a central bank governor. Okay. So this is the basic about currency issue. There are more to it. For example, when I say that Reserve Bank of India can issue currency, it doesn't mean that it can start printing the currency as and when it requires. It cannot do according to its whims and fancies. If that is the case, there is no richer organization than a central bank. So you wake up, you print the currency, and you do whatever you want. That's not how it works. There is a mechanism to it. Each and every currency note that is printed by the bank, Reserve Bank of India, is its liability. Is its liability because you're liable to that value because you have promised that I'm going to pay you this much amount of money. Right? So since it is a liability, you cannot do it excessively beyond a limit. So who decides those limits? what is the what is the mechanism of issuing the currency? What do you have to do to issue a particular amount of currency? All these things are going to be studied. Okay, I'll give you a small example. Let's say there is a person A. This person has 100 rupees of currency note with him. Okay, let's assume that it is a miniature world. There are hardly 5 to 6 people there, and there is only one person who possesses currency note 100 rupees. Okay, this person has deposited in a bank. This person has deposited that 100 rupees in a bank. Okay, and the bank used this 100 rupees to provide loan to somebody else. The same 100 rupees as given as loan to Mr. B. Okay, now Mr. B has got this 100 rupees. Now the original currency value is 100 rupees, but the total money supply is 200 rupees. Why? Because according to A, he possesses 100 rupees of deposit, but B possesses that 100 rupees of currency note which he got through loan. Right? So currency and money both are different. So once the currency that is printed by the Reserve Bank of India, once it enters into the banking sector, in the process of credit creation by the bank, the money is going to be multiplied. So money is a broader term than currency. So that's what I said. Our understanding of money is quite different from the original definition of money. Money includes both currency and bank deposits. So there is a process known as money multiplication process. So we are going to discuss about how this money is going to be multiplied. What factors are going to determine how much the money is going to be multiplied. For example, in this case, we assume that the 100 rupees received by the bank is given as loan to Mr. B. So B has got 100 rupees and A has got 100 rupees in his deposit. So the total money supply would amount to 200 rupees. But this is a very ideal way of assumption, because bank cannot give the entire deposits that it receives in the form of loans. It has to keep a certain amount of money to meet certain reserve requirements. We'll discuss about it later on. So what factors do determine how much of money is going to be multiplied, right? So these are the kind of questions are asked. Okay, if you look at the questions, see which one of the following statements are correctly describes the meaning of legal tender money. Can you take a guess? The money which is tendered in courts of law to defray the fee of legal cases. The money which a creditor is under compulsion to accept in settlement of his claims. The bank money in the form of checks, drafts, bill of exchange. The metallic money in circulation in country. You can take a guess, even if it is wrong, completely fine. Hmm? Which is sounding more familiar to you or more appropriate definition? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? B. B. See, I told you it is a legal tender. That means whenever I provided a good or a service to somebody and I need to receive payment from the person, and the person has provided me legal tender, which means the currency, I cannot deny it. I can deny a check, I can deny a demand draft, but I cannot deny cash payment. So cash is the most accepted mode of payment. There is no better mode of payment than currency, right? So that is the last resort. Beyond that, there is no other mode of payment. So that is why it is a legal tender. Okay, that's it. Anyways, we'll discuss about it later on. Right. So similarly, which one of the following effects of creation of black money? Black money क्या होता है? What is black money? And what are the steps taken by the government to control the black money? All these things. And this is about money multiplication process. So why am I showing these questions? To make you understand what kind of questions or what kind of topics that we're going to discuss. This topic involves what are the factors that determine the money supply and how money is multiplied. So what is the role of banks in money multiplication? In fact, it is the RBI which issues prints currency, but it is the banks which are going to multiply the currency into money. So bank, RBI and consumer, these are the three stakeholders which are going to play a significant role in money multiplication. Okay, most of the questions are conceptual questions. Most of them are questions are conceptual questions. So this is about money supply. I'm going to get back into the banking and monetary policy later on towards the end. First of all, let's talk about next financial markets. Financial market is another chapter where you get questions on stock markets. As I told you earlier, there were hardly any questions from financial markets. Since 2020, after COVID, everybody started, flirting with stock markets, right? SIP, you might have seen the ads. SIP to mutual fund sahi hai. Okay, so which means there has been increasing awareness among the consumers with respect to the stock markets. There was a time when households used to save their money in bank deposits. Things have changed now. In fact, this year, economic survey is a document released by the government every year. In that economic survey, it clearly mentioned that in the last 7 to 8 years, right, in the last 7 years, there has been significant change in the composition of savings of households. There was a time people used to save in gold. Okay, gold, people used to purchase gold because they believe that it is the best mode of investment. And of course, apart from financial investment, it has a cultural significance in Indian economy, Indian society. Okay, it's not just a mode of investment; it has some cultural significance as well. It is exchanged as a part of gifts in the during any auspicious occasions. Okay, and also real estate. You purchase a plot of land if you have if you have got good amount of money, or you purchase a house. Okay, these are physical savings. Okay, now I'm talking about the financial savings. That means you're saving in a bank deposit. Okay, the bank deposit is paying you 5% interest rate or 6% interest rate. But the problem is people have become restless with respect to this 5% 6% interest rate. They no more are interested in investing their money in the banks. They're looking for a better rate of returns. Nowadays, mutual funds have become a better option and better alternative channel for your savings. It is pretty simple. You can contribute according to your own appetite, risk appetite, and you can choose your own plan. There are multiple plans. You want long term returns, you want short term returns. What is your risk appetite? Okay, so thanks to mutual funds, people's savings have been increased in the stock markets. They're purchasing shares, they're purchasing bonds. Okay, derivatives, futures, options. Okay, so these financial markets have become so important to the economy. Now they have started asking questions, at least 2 to 3 questions every year. So what are we going to study in this chapter, financial markets, is that what kind of instruments are traded on the stock market. Okay, the entire stock market or the entire financial markets are divided into primary market, secondary market, or money market or capital market. Okay, what kind of instruments are traded in the money market, what kind of instruments are traded in the capital market. For example, shares and bonds. Can you tell me what is the difference between a share and a bond? Take a guess. What is a share? If you're feeling uncomfortable, you can change it if anybody wants to. Okay, I can understand. Okay, take a guess. What is a share? People say that we are purchasing shares in a company. What does it mean? Chalo, I have certain amount of money, 1 lakh rupees of money. I have an option to make a fixed deposit in a bank. But bank is giving 5% interest rate and I'm not at all interested in it. Okay, then I believe that I go to stock market and there I can get better interest rate. So not interest rate, better returns. So I purchase shares of a particular company or 2 or 3 shares of different companies. Share is kind of ownership in the company. For example, let's say if one share equal to 0.1% of the total ownership, I purchase 10 shares so that I can get 1% of ownership. which means out of the total profits earned by that company, 1% profits are supposed to given to me. That means if that particular company is making 1 crore of profit, 1% comes to me. That 1 lakh profit is supposed to come to me because I own 1% of share of the company. So share, which means you're a part of the company. You're trying to purchase the ownership of the company, and the money that you get or the returns that you're going to get depends upon the performance of the company. Okay, this is broadly the meaning of share. Then what is a bond? Mm. Any, of course, where there is risk, there are rewards. Of course, any investor would have losses depending upon the, as I said, the returns depends upon the performance of the company. If the company performs better, it makes profits, then you get a share of the profit. If the company is in losses, you're not going to get anything. You can sell the share to somebody else. Depends whether the person is going to sell it, purchase it at the same cost that you purchased it. So there is always a risk in the share. If you don't want to take risk, probably bond is a better investment for you. Can you take a guess what bond is? Now that I said bond is not a risk, bond is relatively risk free. Hmm. Right. Bond is a debt instrument. Debt instrument means when you purchase bond, indirectly you're giving that amount of money as a loan to the company. For example, there is a company and that company wants money from the market. There are two ways of raising the money. One, by issuing the shares and giving a partnership in the company. Two, if you don't want to give any partnership in the company, you can raise loan from the market. Normally loans are taken from the bank, but you don't want to take the loan from the bank. Now you want more amount of money, probably at a cheaper cost. Then you issue bonds. For example, there is a company which has issued a bond. Each bond value is 1,000 rupees. And I purchased one bond, which means I gave 1,000 rupees of loan to the particular company. So a bond would have a value, which we call it face value. Let's say it is 1,000 rupees and it has a maturity. It says that the maturity is 2 years, which means after 2 years, if I give the bond back, I can redeem my 2,000 rupees. In the meanwhile, I get interest rate of, let's say, 5%. 5% interest rate means I get 50 rupees of interest income every month. So this is design of a bond. Broadly, very simple understanding of bond is this, which means here you are going to get a fixed income and it has nothing to do with the performance of the company. The company has to pay you a certain amount of interest rate which is fixed at the time of purchasing the bond. So if you don't want risk, you can purchase here, but fixed. But in a share, it depends upon the performance of the company. If the company performs better, then you get more money, more money. If it doesn't, you get less money. You're at loss. So that's it. This is a brief understanding of share and bond. However, there are multiple kinds of equity instruments, multiple kinds of instruments. Share and bond are very two important instruments, but there are futures, there are options, there are derivatives. Okay, there are all kinds of, there are n number of money market instruments and number of capital market instruments. We are going to discuss about all of them. Okay, so these are the kind of questions that are asked. What does venture capital mean? Consider the following markets: government bond market, call money market, treasury bill market, stock market. Which of them above are included in the capital market? These are the kind of questions that are asked. Here, purely technical, you need to know about the kind of instruments that are traded. Purely conceptual questions. Nothing else. Okay. So this is about financial market and fiscal policy. Again, a very important topic, very important topic, evergreen topic. Okay, fiscal policy. What is fiscal policy? Fiscal policy means the policy that has something to do with the government budget. That means government, the big boss, the government has got the authority to impose taxes and collect the money, and it has got the authority to spend the money on behalf of the entire public. Okay, so what are they going to do? How are they going to do? Every year the budget is presented in the on the February 1st. Okay, Nimla Sitaraman, when she submit the budget. Everybody is glued to the screens, assuming that where are the tax imposed, where are they spending the money. Okay, very very important from the UPSC point of view. Questions are asked both in prelims and mains. Very important topic. So the question is, when what is a budget? Tell me. For example, as an individual, you're making a budget for next 1 month. What do you make out of it? That means, what are you going to write down in your budget? If I ask you to prepare a budget for your own expenses, expenditure, expenses, and revenue also. It's not just about the expenditure. You also talk about how much of money that I'm going to get for the next 1 month. Anything, expenditure. It can be any expenditure. For my consumption expenditure, my food expenditure is this. My internet expenditure is this. House rent, petrol. This is how you make a list out of it. And if at all you're left with any more money, then you think of investing somewhere. Probably mutual funds. Okay, you go to you take a scheme, you take a systematic investment plan, and you invest there, right? So basically, your revenues and your expenditure. Revenue means the money that you get it. The same way, even budget would also make that expenditure list. Okay, the government would have the same budget, but the thing is that you are not accountable to your budget. You don't have to show it to anybody, but government is accountable to show it to the public. Government has to take the permission of parliament. I'm sure you understood the difference between government and parliament. Finance minister, when they submit the budget, they're going to submit it in the parliament. They have to take permission of the parliament as to showing that how much of money are we spending and how much of money are we getting. So without parliament, the budget cannot be passed. If budget is not passed, the government cannot spend a single rupee of money. Okay. Now, where do you think government going to get the money? Tax. Okay. Tax is the major source of income for the government. Of course, there are other sources of income. Tax is the major important source. Within taxes, there are multiple types of taxes. Direct taxes, indirect taxes. Okay, which means income tax, GST, all these things. So we are going to start with that. What are the sources of revenue for the government? So we'll start with tax resources. So then the basics about taxes. What is the difference between a direct tax and an indirect tax? Can you tell me what is the difference between a direct tax and indirect tax? I'll give you two examples. One is income tax. Example of direct tax is income tax. Example of indirect tax is GST. Okay. Now, based on your understanding or a guess, tell me what is the difference between a direct tax and indirect tax? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm. Okay. Not necessarily source, but partially right. Anybody? Yes. Mm. Mm. Indirectly. See, the thing is, in indirect taxes, the tax incidence and tax burden, both of them are on the same individual. But an indirect tax, incidence is different, burden is different. I'll explain you. For example, you're earning 10 lakh rupees of salary. That is your income. Then, according to the tax slab, you're going to be imposed a certain amount of tax. Let's say 10% of tax is imposed on your income. Who is going to pay it? You are going to pay it. Can you pass this burden of taxation to any other individual? No, you cannot. You earn the income, so you are supposed to pay the tax. Now let's take a case of GST. Let's say this is the pen the manufacturer had made. The cost of this pen is online students. Am I audible to you? Okay, perfect. Just give me a second. No? Okay, till the time let's discuss about it. Let's take the case of a pen. The manufacturing cost of this pen is, let's say, 10 rupees. When this pen is sold in the market, tax is imposed on it. Let's say 2 rupees of tax has been imposed, 12 rupees. Who is going to pay this tax? It is the manufacturer who has to pay the 2 rupees of GST on this 10 rupees. Okay, on this pen. So now the manufacturer has paid 2 rupees. He is going to add that in the MRP, right? So the pen is sold in the market for 12 rupees. Now there is a retailer who purchased it from the manufacturer, and that retailer is going to add his value to it, add his profit to it, 2 more rupees. And when he sold it to the customer, then he is supposed to pay GST, some other tax. So that is also added into the pen cost, ultimately MRP. So ultimately, who is bearing the burden? It is the consumer. So tax is imposed on the particular individual, like manufacturer or retailer, anybody, but ultimately the burden is on the consumer. So the tax burden can be transferred from one entity to the other entity. So that is why it is known as indirect tax. Tax incidence is on somebody, burden is on somebody. This is indirect tax. GST is the best example. However, apart from that, we have direct taxes, indirect taxes. There are multiple kinds of taxes. GST has been an important reform in the taxation in the last 10 years. Probably in independent India, we cannot call any other reform as a biggest reform than GST, because it completely changed the taxation mechanism of the government. So we'll find out how, and just give me a second. Online students, is the screen visible to you, or do you want me to share the screen with you? It's fine. Okay, fair enough. So that is what. So GST is very important topic for both for prelims and mains. So we'll start with there. What are different kinds of direct taxes, indirect taxes, and what are different tax slabs? And apart from the taxes, what are the other revenue sources of the government? Disinvestment is one source, which means the government is going to sell off its PSUs. We have multiple public sector units like BHEL, like NTPC. There are multiple public sector units. So the governments often sell off their public sector units to get some money when they believe that their tax resources are not enough to meet their expenditure. Okay, that is also another source of income. So this is the revenue side. Now expenditure side. Where are you going to spend the money? That is important. Whether you are paying the salaries, or are you using that money to pay off subsidies, like giving 10,000 rupees into the bank account of the consumers just because you want vote bank. Okay, most of the schemes, like we call it freebies. The famous word freebies is is used to refer to these kind of subsidies, where the government directly provide cash subsidies to the people. So that is also a government expenditure. So whether it is good or bad, what kind of impact it is going to get on the overall budget and fiscal health of the government, where are you getting the money, how are you supposed to use that money? So depending upon the nature of expenditure, they're going to be divided broadly into two categories. One is revenue expenditure and other is capital expenditure. That means if the government is using that money only for its maintenance, like paying the salaries, paying the operational expenditure, so it's just like consumption and maintenance expenditure. But if the government is using it for any asset creation, let's say the government used that money for laying the road, the government used that money for for a railway, for an airport, for a port, any infrastructure project, that is going to add value to the economy. The regular consumption and maintenance is not important to the economy. What is important? The asset creation. So how to reduce this revenue expenditure, how to increase the capital expenditure, all these strategies are supposed to be discussed in the fiscal policy. So this is what the fiscal policy is all about. What is the policy that you are taking? What is the policy of the government with respect to the budget? Okay, fair enough. Okay. Now, if you look at the question, see, taxes. The sales tax you pay while purchasing a toothpaste is, who imposes these taxes? Again, that is a different question. Who imposes the tax? It is the state government or the central government. So they have certain boundaries, The state government cannot impose certain taxes. Central government cannot get into the state list. Okay. Second, if you look with reference to the union budget, which of the following is covered under non-plan expenditure, which means the revenue expenditure. Non-plan expenditure means revenue expenditure. That means you don't plan for it. There are committed. They are kind of committed expenditures. That means you do it every year, like paying the salaries, right? Defense expenditure, interest payments, subsidies. All these are non-plan expenditure, right? So these are the kind of questions that are asked. See, GST, very, very important. It was introduced from 2017 financial year, so that year this question was asked. This year, GST 2.0 reforms were introduced. That means GST reforms were introduced. The slabs have been changed. Earlier, there are multiple slabs, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%. Now we don't have these many slabs. 5, 18, that's it. Okay. And the rest is 40%. 40% are exclusively for very few goods, like if you are any smokers, cigarettes, okay, cigarettes, not alcohol. Alcohol doesn't come under GST. Any other luxury items, all these things. Okay, that is where 40% of tax is imposed. Otherwise, either it is 5% or 8%. This is a very important reforms again since 2017, since the time of its introduction till in the last 8 years. This is the biggest reform. So this time I am expecting a question on it. Okay, current affairs. So this is how you are going to study current affairs along with the static. So this is a broad overview of fiscal policy. Okay. Now external sector. See, equal weightage. These are very important. External sector, 2 to 3 questions every year. What is external sector? What are we talking about in the external sector? See, every country not only trades within the country, it makes transactions with the rest of the world as well. That means we export our goods, we import certain goods. Can you take a guess? What do we import the most? The most imported commodity? Gold. But there is more important than gold. There is something which is important than gold to our economy. And there can't be a better time to understand it. Crude oil. Right, right. Perfect. Crude oil, natural gas. Come on. You know the problem, if we don't have enough amount of oil resources. We do import oil, crude oil from Gulf countries, crude oil from Russia, no more. Okay. Iran, no more. So USA twisted our hands to purchase their oil, and Venezuela in the South America, USA had changed the government in Venezuela and made us to bring oil from there. Government? Where is it? Sorry. What is I didn't get it. Raw materials. Raw materials. Yes. What kind of raw material? Anything is a raw material. Any input is a raw material if you are using it in a manufacturing sector. So crude oil is a raw material. Let's say if you're purchasing coal, that is for coal, that is raw material. We are importing coal from Australia and Indonesia. Why the coal is important? Because in India the coal quality is not so good, so we import it. So these are the imports and exports. Can you tell me what is the biggest export item from India? Medicine. Fine, medicine is also one of the good. Not really. The biggest export, it is the petroleum product. So the crude oil is imported, we refine them, and the byproducts are there, right? We use the diesel, petrol, gas, everything. Those byproducts are sold back to the foreign countries. So we have good refinery technology. We have got good refineries. So the whole Gujarat coast and Maharashtra coast, dominated by 2 individuals, you know who. So right. So they have got good refineries, petroleum refineries. So they import it in the fractional distillation process. They get certain commodities, they're sold back. Okay, they're exported, right? So this is about exports and imports, and of course there are multiple other exports and imports. So first of all, we start with exports and imports. This is one important transaction. Now tell me, apart from exports and imports, is there any other cross-border transaction? Do we make any other cross-border transaction? That is also kind of export. Let's say there is an IT company, let's say TCS is providing its services to some foreign bank. That is a kind of export. Either it is a good export or a service export, or goods import or service import. Apart from the trade, do you have any siblings or relatives in the foreign country? Yes, remittances. That means your friends, family members, when they send money from them, it is not a trade. They're sending it for free. So, borrowings, foreign investment. We wanted Apple to come and invest. Most of the Apple products are being manufactured. They have relocated from China to India. Of course, there are different reasons for it, but foreign investment is also a transaction. Let's say we asked Elon Musk to invest in India for a manufacturing plant. We are inviting foreign players to invest in semiconductors because we don't have semiconductors. We want to convert our economy into clean energy transition, clean energy economy. That means we can no more depend upon the fossil fuels like petrol, diesel anymore. We need to make a transition because every time there is a war in the Gulf, every time there is a war in West Asia, the repercussions are clearly seen in Indian economy. So we don't have energy security. So what do we can do? What we can do? Tap solar energy. For solar energy, you need semiconductors. So we don't have semiconductor manufacturing plants. Artificial intelligence technology is there. We are talking about fourth industrial revolution and fifth industrial revolution. So artificial intelligence, robotics, drones, 3D printing, all these kind of technologies require again chip manufacturing plants. We don't have chip manufacturing plants. All the processors, where are we importing from? China, Korea is the biggest player. South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, small country, small island, right? Taiwan is producing it, so we don't have it. So as such, we don't have the capability to produce them. So what we can do, we can ask a foreign investor to come and manufacture from here. Right now, don't share any intellectual property, don't share any technology, but down the line, you're going to definitely share it. I'll give you some example. It's pretty interesting. Do you know there was a time when government had its own automobile company? No, Maruti Udyog Limited. Maruti Udyog Limited was the public sector unit which used to produce cars and other automobiles. Okay. At the time, we didn't have the capacity or the expertise to manufacture engines. You know what we used to do? The Maruti Udyog Limited used to import that company used to import all the inputs, and we used to just assemble it. We were just making the body. That's it. The rest of the important inputs were imported, and we assemble it, and we used to sell it. Now later on, what happened? The automobile market has been increased in India. So these foreign players, especially the Suzuki, Japan, which has got good engine manufacturing capacity, they looked at the market and they made a joint venture with Maruti Udyog Limited. They said that let's do one thing. Let's make it you take care of the manufacture except engine. I'm going to sell engine to you. You assemble it. You sell my goods in the Indian market, not only Indian market but also the rest of the world. So we started exporting automobiles because we have got good engines from Japan. So Maruti Udyog and Suzuki came together, Maruti Suzuki, right? Now they started making it. It was a joint venture between an Indian company and a foreign company. Later on, what they have done, they said that instead of manufacturing engines in the Japan, Tokyo, and selling it off or transporting them from there to India, we'll start manufacturing engines in India itself. Then it started. Then the technology sharing started. Now India is the hub of automobile manufacturing. So India did not have the technology, but we invited foreign investment. There, see, that is the beauty of the foreign investment. Through foreign investment, we are not only attracting money into India, we're attracting jobs in India, we're attracting technology in India. So technology, money, employment opportunities, all of them are going to come. So that is why whenever Prime Minister visits any other country, he would attract investments. It is very important. Foreign investment is also a cross-border transaction, right? So depending upon the nature of the transactions, we talk about what are these transactions. Some of them are current account transactions, some of them are capital account transactions. The difference is slightly complicated, technical. We'll discuss whenever we discuss about that particular topic. So in the external sector, this is what we are going to talk about. Cross-border transaction, be it trade, be it investment, be it remittance. Till now, we were talking about only the remittance coming into India, foreign investment coming into India, or exports so that the money coming into India. But money also go out of India. Indian residents, they may invest in the foreign location, right? Or Indian manufacturing companies may open their branches in the foreign countries. So money also can go out. So money coming in, money going out. This is what we are going to discuss about in the external sector. So this is where the questions are going to become. See, if you see international trade, so the questions about the relevant international trade, which of the following, with reference to the international trade of India at present, which of the following statements are correct? So these kind of statements are asked to understand the state of India's international trade or economy, right? See, and again, this is very, very important. Depending upon our cross-border transactions, that means how much of exports are we making, how much of imports are we doing, how much of foreign investment is coming into India. All these cross-border transactions create an impact on the currency exchange value of rupee. Value of rupee expressed in the foreign currency. That means now you might have seen in the newspapers that the dollar value has been increased to almost 93 rupees. Okay. So let's say $1 equal to 90 rupees in the month of March 2026. Okay. Next month, the same dollar value has become 80 rupees. Let's say in the month of April. Now tell me, from March to April, the value of Indian rupee has increased or decreased? Increased. Because here 1 rupee equal to 1 by $90. Here 1 rupee equal to 1 by $80. That means earlier you used to spend 90 rupees to purchase $1, but now you're purchasing only, you need only 80 rupees to purchase $1. Okay. So the currency value of rupee with respect to other foreign currencies may keep changing. It may fluctuate. Okay. Right now it has been a hot topic. People are, in the newspapers and the social media, they are talking about how the war had an impact on Indian rupee. So the questions are going to be asked on what what factors determine the volatility of the rupee. That means today it is 90 rupees, next day it is 95 rupees, next day it is 80 rupees. This is volatility. What factors do determine? So this is very, very important. Lot of times questions have been asked on this topic. And the second thing is what impact it would have on Indian economy. Let's say if the rupee value decreased from 80 rupees to 90, let's say $1 equal to 80 has become 90, let's say it has become 100 rupees, which means the value of the rupee further declined. Now tell me, is it a good thing or a bad thing for Indian economy? Come again? Yes. Right. So it is bad and good in its own ways. Nothing is perfectly good or bad actually. Currency appreciation or depreciation, which means the currency value might increase or decrease, but it has its own positives and negatives. For example, let's say dollar value decreased from 90 to 100, which means so increased from 90 to 100, which means the rupee value decreased. Okay. Now in that case, our imports become costlier. That means there is a product, its value is $1, and we are importing that product, right? Which means earlier we used to pay 80 rupees to import that product. Now we are paying 90 rupees or 100 rupees to import the same product, which means the cost of that product in Indian economy is going to be increased. So for imports, we have to pay more amount of money. This happens whenever we import a barrel of crude oil. So that is why we often express the barrel of crude oil price as a value of imports. For example, barrel of crude oil is, let's say, $100. Earlier we used to pay 8,000 rupees for it. Now we have to pay 9,000 rupees for it. So it is good for, it's not good for imports, but it may be good for exports. Tell me why. Let's say 100 rupees of product. Okay. Now 100 rupees of product, you're selling it at $1 now. Earlier for 100 rupees, same 100 rupees of product, for that they used to pay $1.1, right? So your export, Sorry. Yes, yes. Our exports become cheaper because earlier they used to pay $1.1. Now they're paying only $1. So for $1 they're getting this product. So that is how. So depending upon the export or import, whether it is foreign investment coming into India or investment going out of India, whether you're borrowing from India or are you paying interest rate. So depending upon the transaction, it would have a specific impact. Okay, so you need to understand these impacts. Very, very important. Most of the questions are asked on the impact of the volatility of the rupee, whether currency appreciation or depreciation. Okay, so look at the questions. See, which one of the following are the not most likely measures the government or RBI to take slide of Indian rupee? What kind of impacts and what steps are going to be taken by the government or RBI to reduce this volatility? Right. These are the kind of questions are asked. So this is about external sector. Very interesting chapter. Actually. Right. Next, inflation. One question each year, guaranteed from inflation. This year, there has been a change in consumer price index. There is an index to measure the inflation. There has been significant changes to that just last month, in the month of February. So I'm expecting a question on this CPI this year. Okay, now tell me, what is inflation? We keep hearing this in the newspapers all the time, in the policy circles, even in the day to day, what you call discussions. We use this term inflation. That's it. Increasing in the prices, like in a colloquial language where they say it in Hindi, महंगाई. So the cost of the goods and services are going to be increased. Okay. However, there are multiple reasons for this inflation. Okay. Depending upon these reasons, we divide them into demand side reasons and supply side reasons. Okay. See, for example, let's say inflation, which means price rise, right? Now tell me, why do you think the price of a commodity or any service is going to be increased? Demand. Okay. ठीक है, inputs महंगे हो सकते हैं. ठीक है. Anything else? Supply reduced. Okay. So let's do something. Generally, there are two kinds of reasons: demand side reasons and supply side reasons. Hmm? Produce. That's supply side. Supply side. Okay. Now, depending upon the reasons, the inflation is known as either demand pull inflation or cost push inflation. Okay. I'll briefly explain it. Try to understand. Demand pull inflation has only to do with demand side reasons irrespective of the supply. That means any commodities, its supply has been the same, just like last month, this month also the same supply is there. But this month the demand increased beyond the supply. Now tell me, why do you think the demand increased? People's preference changed over a month. What happened in that month? Hmm? Change in the price itself is inflation, right? Right. See, change in the price means the price reduced, right? That is why there is increase in demand, right? So, but we are talking about inflation, which means price increased, right? See, mm. See, these are some extreme products. We are talking about only the rich people where they believe that they want to consume certain products as a status symbol, right? These are extreme products. It is not; these products are not something which are purchased on a large scale in Indian economy. See, whenever we talk about inflation, I'm not talking about only one product. Inflation means whenever we talk about this word महंगाई, inflation, we are talking about increasing the price of wide range of goods and services. If there is 10% increase in this pen cost, then we don't say that the economy is going through 10% of inflation. No, it is about food commodities. If it is about energy commodities, petrol, everything, consumer goods, mobile phones, laptop, electricity, education, health, everything, transport services. So there has been increasing the prices in the wide range of goods and services in the economy. That is when we call the economy is going through a phase of inflation. Okay. Now, why do you think the demand is going to be increased? Because people have got more money. So your purchasing power increased. Let's say if there is an individual who used to earn 1 lakh rupee of salary, now there has been 20% increase in his salary because of some promotion or anything. 1.1 lakh 20,000 rupees is the salary. Now for the extra 20,000 he may consume more, right? So his consumption expenditure increased. That means he used to purchase n number of goods. Now he is going to purchase n plus 20% of goods, let's say. So there has been demand for these goods and services. So that will eventually increase the price whenever there is demand. So the money supply is increasing in the market, isn't it? That means whenever there is income increase, whenever there is an increase in the income of individual, you have more money at your disposal, which increases the purchasing power. When purchasing power is increased among the consumers, this is going to increase the demand for the goods and services, eventually lead to inflation. This kind of inflation is known as demand pull inflation. The demand is pulling the prices up, right? So now there is another way of doing it. Do you think is there any other reason why there is going to be increase in the demand? Increasing population cannot be invariably lead to inflation. Why? Because this is an assumption that increasing population will eventually lead to the increasing demand, but no, not necessarily. We always in economy we always talk about the consumer, not population. Okay, there is a difference between these two. Even if a household has 6 members, but the consumption is limited only 3 members, then these 3 members are going to decide the consumption behavior, because whatever the consumption that is distributed among the 6 members or 7 members or whatever it is, so it is always the consumer, not the population. Okay. Now, think of it. There was a time, probably a decade back, holding an Apple product used to be a very, a what you call status symbol. Not anymore. At least not that what it used to be earlier. What do you think has changed in the last 10 years? Of course, incomes rised, definitely. Purchasing power increased. Is there anything else? हाँ हाँ, जब खरीदने वाला है तो तभी. So there are people, there is demand. That is why they are selling more, right? Think of it. Now it is very easy to purchase an iPhone even if you don't have any money. How? EMI. So no cost EMI, low cost EMIs, which was not there. So when the interest rates in the economy reduces, then it creates demand. See, I'll tell you, this is just about mobile phone, but let me tell you a very important example. Back in 2008, probably your kids, you might not aware of it. Back in 2008, there was a financial crisis in USA. Financial crisis. This crisis was mostly to do with the cheap loans that were given to the consumers to purchase the real estate, purchase houses. If you have any friends in USA, ask them what is the bank interest rate there. It's very cheaper. So even at 4%, they believe that it's too high. Ask them to come to India. The the bank rate, the interest rate is nowhere less than 12% if you want to purchase house. 12% is something, you must be lucky. So your down payment must be huge. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that in the advanced economies, the interest rates are generally cheaper compared to India, emerging economies like India. Okay. So 3%, 4%, and they have given loans way cheaper than that. 0.5%. You won't believe. I've personally known people who have taken loan for 0.8% house loan, right? So just imagine you're spending like $5 lakh for to purchase that house beyond your capacity to repay. So cheap interest की वजह से औकात से बाहर जाके, so you purchase a house, now you struggle to repay it. So the point is, the cheaper loans have created demand for housing market there. all of a sudden the prices of the houses or real estate properties have been increased and the bubble has been burst. The demand was not genuine. The demand was due to the cheaper credit. So that was one classical example. Okay. So whenever there are low interest rates, then also you believe that there is money supply is there because lending activity is going to be increased. When interest rates are cheaper, lending activity is going to be increased. If you remember, I gave you the example of A has deposited 100 rupees of money currency in the bank and it is given as loan to B. Just imagine if the interest rates are so high and B is not ready to take the loan, the money would have never been multiplied. So money multiplication is going to be increased when the interest rates are cheaper, more lending activity, more money multiplication, more money supply, demand. Okay. Now let's look at the cost side or supply side. Best example, what we are facing right now. What is the cost of LPG cylinder right now? 3,000? You wish 5,000. I heard last time. 2 days back somebody was saying that it is 5,500. A student was saying, "Sir, my PG में खाना नहीं मिल रहा." So they're being fed with non-cooked food, with bread, vegetables, making some sandwiches out of it. Okay. So I asked him, "What is the cost of the cylinder?" He said 5,500 rupees. You see, go to any restaurant, the cost of the food has been increased. Okay. This is the best example of supply side inflation, which means cost push inflation. That means if the cost of any factor of production is increasing, that will ultimately lead to the increase in the cost of the cost of the manufactured product. So this will eventually lead to the inflation. So best thing. So what are these different factors of production? It can be labor cost. That means the wage is increasing, or it could be any raw material. As you said, gas is an important raw material, or petrol is an important raw material. So that is going to increase the cost. Okay. Anything, let's say, for example, coal. There is no adequate coal production in India. So we have to import from foreign countries like Australia, Indonesia. But the cost of coal increased in the global market. Then it is going to be directly reflected in the electricity cost, right? So this is known as cost push inflation. So if it is coming from this. So this is a broad, brief understanding of inflation. Okay. Now, when we get into the topic, we're going to discuss about what is the impact of inflation, what is inflation, and what are the causes of inflation, and what are the impacts of inflation on Indian economy. What are the impact of inflation on each and every aspect? The interest rates, the foreign investment, the exports, the imports, all these things. And now that inflation is not so good to the economy because it is going to rob your purchasing power, right? Now the RBI has to do something about it. Okay. So what kind of actions are going to be taken by the Reserve Bank of India or the government to control the inflation? That is also a very important aspect. So these are the kind of questions generally asked in the prelims. See, a rise in the general level of prices. You want to try this question? 2013, just try. A rise in general level of prices may be caused. General level of prices means inflation. Okay. So a rise in inflation may be caused by, what is it? An increase in the money supply, a decrease in the aggregate level of output, an increase in the effective demand. Combination is there. One only, one and two only, two and three only, one, two and three. All of them. See, increasing the money supply. That means demand pull inflation. A decrease in the aggregate level of output. The output has been reduced. Earlier you used to produce 100 goods. Now you are producing only 50 goods. Obviously, this is going to increase the cost of each and every good. So that also leads to inflation. An increase in the effective demand. Simple random statement. Demand. Obviously, increasing the demand will eventually lead to inflation. So it is 1, 2, and 3. Simple question. Same thing here. Which of the following is most likely to be the inflationary effect? What are the causes? Slightly complicated, technical here. So what are the other factors? What kind of role that is played by the RBI unknowingly? Sometimes the role played by the government unintentionally may lead to inflation. Okay, so what are those aspects we are going to discuss about it? So cause, impact, steps taken to control the inflation. These three themes are very important for inflation. Okay, right. Demanded, no, similar. They use the right word because it is an objective paper. To make sure that nobody assumes anything other than what it is, they generally try to come up with most appropriate terms. Sometimes they use aggregate demand. That means demand is not from one person or two persons. Demand is there from the entire economy. That's it. Okay. Now, agriculture, very important because the government had given a clarion call. The Prime Minister had given a clarion call of increasing or doubling the farmers' income by 2022, which couldn't be happened. So 2030 is the new target. Okay. So doubling the farmers' income. Okay. Now the question is, what kind of questions are asked? What are we going to discuss about it? Agriculture is predominantly a mains-oriented topic, right? So what kind of questions are asked? There is no specific prelims and mains preparation for it. You study about agriculture generally. How do you prepare for mains topics? Based on that understanding, you can answer prelims questions. Okay. First and foremost, you need to understand about India's cropping patterns. India has multiple seasons, cropping seasons. Can you give me the names of these seasons? Kharif, Rabi, Zaid seasons. So different seasons. Now you need to know what kind of crops are produced in the Kharif, what kind of crops are produced in the Rabi season. Okay, which season gives more amount of food grains to India, right? And what kind of agriculture commodities are exported? What kind of agriculture commodities are imported? Rice, we do export. Basmati rice, India is the largest exporter of basmati rice. Wheat, one of the largest exporters of wheat. Sugar also one of the largest exporter of sugar, right? Not sugar cane, sugar. So it is not economically viable to export sugar cane. So you crush it, make sugar, so you can reduce the volume, you can increase more exports, right? Sugar, right? Can you tell me what do we import in agriculture products? Hmm. Wheat we export. We have good amount of wheat production. No, we are not running short of wheat or rice. Pulses, pulses. Okay, pulses we do import. India is the largest importer of pulses. You know what? For a fact, let me tell you also one thing. India is the largest producer of pulses. Okay, so despite being the largest producer of pulses in the world, we are also the largest importer, which means we are the largest consumer of pulses. That's it. So again, that is one fact. Is there any other product that we import? Agriculture product. Very important from the point of view of government. It has been very very important. Oils, edible oil, palm oil. It is imported from Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore, right? And not only the edible oil, palm oil, we import soya bean oil from what do you call Canada and South America, Argentina. Okay, so we do import decent amount of oil. Most of the in India we don't have adequate oil supply. I'm talking about the edible oil. Okay, edible oil supply, right? So we do import. Now, this is about our cropping pattern. What kind of products are exported? What kind of products are imported? Okay, and also the government takes up certain initiatives because we cannot depend upon the imports. We have to have self-reliance, Atmanirbharta. That is a new word that is coined by the Prime Minister since last 5 years. So every 5 year, every fifth year, he finds a new term. Okay, so the thing is, how do you achieve self-reliance or Atmanirbharta in agriculture production? So you have to give them some sort of initiatives. You have to take some sort of incentives to the farmers. That is when they are very very important. Most of the prelims questions are going to be asked on the government initiatives that were taken in the agriculture. Okay, let's see. This is one initiative, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Okay, It is a crop insurance scheme. You need crop insurance, otherwise farmers are not going to be incentivized to grow risky crops. Let's say tomorrow the government encouraged farmers to say that we have got good market for edible oil because we are importing it. If you can produce within India, probably you can sell it at a very good price. So I got motivated from Prime Minister's speech, and I started sowing some palm oil or some other crop. The problem with palm oil is that the gestation period is 4 years. I have to wait for 4 years to reap my harvest, and I don't know what is the status of this crop in the span of 4 years. So there are 100 kinds of risks that I'm going to go through in the span of 4 years. Over flood, drought, pest attack, blight, anything, market, any other disaster. I need to be assured of some sort of crop insurance, some sort of compensation to enable for me to encourage me to go for that crop. So crop insurance scheme. Okay. Who is going to pay the premium for it? Some of the premium is paid by the farmer, the rest of the premium is paid by the government. So this is one way of doing it. So there are multiple such steps taken by the government, providing seeds at a cheaper cost, right? Providing training to the farmers to deploy better farming techniques to improve the yield, and also market support. In India, one important thing about agriculture marketing is that it is guided and regulated by a law. For example, let's say I'm producing this pen, I can sell it to anybody. There is no specific law for selling pens, right? Let's say you're producing some other car and you can sell it. There is no specific law to regulate the selling of cars. But for agriculture commodities, there is a specific law. Each and every state has their own APMC laws are there. Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee Act. Okay, we'll discuss more about it when we reach there. But let me give you a brief understanding of what this law is and why this law was introduced in the first place. You might have seen in these old movies, probably 90s, 80s movies, where there is a farmer and there is this treacherous trader in the kind of villainous person who gives loan to the farmer, and he imposes huge rate of interest rate on him, and the farmer could not pay it off. So what would he do? He will give the land to the trader, the money lender, right? And the money lender is going to hire the same farmer as labor, right? And the laborer's son is going to take revenge over the farm trader, money lender, right? How to take revenge? Get the girl into fall in love. Right. So that's what. Right. Now to overcome this problem, state governments said that because agriculture is a state subject, okay, only state governments can make laws on the agriculture. They said that the farmers are not supposed to sell it in the farm gate, that means at the farm. All the farmers, no matter what kind of agriculture produce you are producing, you are supposed to bring it to a common market. That market is regulated and organized by the government. So you might have seen in each and every town there is a mandi. We call agriculture mandi, right? So farmers are supposed to bring their produce to the mandi and sell it there in an organized market where they have multiple traders, so that there is no monopoly and there is no exploitation. Back in my village, probably as a farmer, I have no option other than to sell this to that trader, that money lender. But here, if anybody wants to trade, they have to take license from the market committee. They have to take license from the government that I am the trader, I am going to purchase it. So the government is going to issue license to as many traders as possible, so that I as a farmer has better choice to sell. So this is the major or basic idea behind this APMC Act, APMC mandis. But the problem is there are a lot of issues with respect to APMC mandis. Okay, they didn't turn out to benefit the farmers. Rather, they started creating some sort of issues to the farmers. Okay, we'll discuss about it. What are they going to do? What are the problems? More to do with mains here. So the questions are going to be asked. What are the challenges faced by the marketing issues faced by the farmers? Time and again, questions have been asked on farming, agriculture marketing. Very, very important agriculture marketing. You might have heard about this term MSP. Kabhi suna? Have you heard of this term, MSP? What is it? Minimum support price. That means a price is fixed by the government for each and every agriculture product. That means there are 22 crops for which MSP is declared by the government. This price is declared ahead of the season. Let's say when this during the before the sowing season, the price is fixed. That means this is the MSP. MSP for rice is 1,000 rupees. MSP for wheat is 1,200 rupees. MSP for pulse, MSP for oil crop, so and so, so and so, so and so, they declare. What is this minimum support price? Which means if at all the farmer is going to sell it in the market and the market trader is not going to give good value to your agriculture produce, then you can go to the government and you can sell it to the government at MSP. Let's say the MSP for rice is 1,000 rupees. As a farmer, I'm producing the rice and I can sell it in the APMC market to any trader. And if the trader is giving me 1,100 rupees, 1,200 rupees, I'm happy to sell it. But if it is going below the MSP, it is my choice whether to sell it or I can sell it to the government. So that is minimum support price, right? Now the question is, what is government going to do with this food grain? A trader is going to purchase it. He's going to sell it to anybody, retail shop or wholesale shop or food processing company, anything. But what is government going to do with these food grains? Hmm? Mm-hmm. So you might have heard about the ration shops, if nothing. PDS, Public Distribution System, which means there is a scheme right now, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Under this, the government is providing free food grains to 80 crores of population through ration shops, right? In fact, government is boasting of this, but nobody is questioning why there is a need to provide free food grains to 80 crores of population. That's a different thing. But the thing is, this is so they need food grains to provide it to the poor people through ration cards and through ration shops. We call it public distribution system. So they procure it. Now the question is, rice and wheat is given in the public distribution shops. But what about wheat? Sorry, what about pulses? What about oil seeds? They're not giving us any oil in the ration shops. Not even pulses. Rice and wheat. Yes. Some states are there. They are starting giving, like in Rajasthan and Karnataka, they started giving millets as well nowadays. Okay. And yes, millets are providing because people they want to change the consumption patterns. Okay. That's a different thing. So for the rest of them, they maintain buffer stock. Buffer stock means a stock is maintained by the government. They purchase it, they maintain it, and they sell it in the market whenever they believe that the supply of this commodity is being less, is being decreased. So that by maintaining the adequate supply during the lean season, the value of the price of the commodity is not going to be increased. It is going to be controlled by the government. If you see, we were talking about the role of government in controlling the inflation. This is how it controls the inflation. It purchases, maintain a buffer stock, it releases in the market whenever there is a dearth of supply. So this is what, okay. So these are the kind of questions which are going to be asked both in prelims and mains. See, this is one thing. And dekho, which of the following factors were affecting the price of rice in India in the recent past? These kind of statements are asked. Government stockpiling, minimum support price, consumer subsidies, all these are the reasons. Okay. Understand? Okay. See, even if you cannot answer these questions, it's completely fine. I'm just showing it to understand what kind of questions and what kind of topics are there. Okay. Okay. Industry and infrastructure, again, a mains oriented topic. You hardly find any prelims questions from it. Okay. Industry and infrastructure. See, same infrastructure initiatives are taken. Okay. What do you mean by infrastructure? All the assets like roads, railways, pipelines, telecommunication lines, airports, all these things, they're very important. Okay. So government provides some sort of support to the private investors in the infrastructure project. So these are some of the initiatives taken by them. So questions again from infrastructure, if at all there is a question, most likely it is from the government initiative. What is the government scheme with respect to that particular infrastructure sector? That's it. Okay. As I said, mostly to do with mains, less prominence for prelims. Okay. So this is about the overall prelim syllabus. Okay, now look at the main syllabus. The main syllabus was given in a very detailed manner. See, Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development, and employment. Very, very important. Mobilization of resources and employment. Okay. What do you mean by mobilization of resources? In any economy, if you want the economy to run, you need investment. That investment is made by anybody, either the government or as an individual. I make the investment. I may purchase the property. I may build a house. Okay, this is my investment. Government is producing government is making infrastructure project, or a private company is making infrastructure project like DLF, GMR, GVK, or anything, any company, Adani Ports. They are also investing in infrastructure. So government, households, private companies, all these stakeholders in an economy, they mobilize the resources. That means you're investing, but where are you getting the money from? That is important. So that is what important from the point of view of economy, right? So this is what questions are going to be asked. Growth, employment, very, very important. Employment, growth and employment are very important topics. Inclusive growth and issues arising from it. Inclusive growth means, is the growth coming equally from all the sections of the population? Is there inequality or not? In India, the contribution of agriculture sector towards the overall GDP is very less. It is hardly 15 to 16%. But it provides employment to almost around 45% of the labor force. But whereas service sector, it contributes to around 60% of the total output, but it provides employment to only 30% of the population. So this is not inclusive growth. That means there are 45% of the labor force depending upon only 15% of the output, but here 30% of the labor force depending upon 60% of the output. So there is inequality. So how do you address this? That is important. The strategies implemented by the government to address inequality in growth. Right? Look at this. Government budgeting, as I said, how to mobilize the resources, how to spend the money, how to reduce the government borrowings, how to reduce the government debt. All these kind of questions are going to be asked from it. Agriculture starts from here. Very, very important. From agriculture, you can expect 3 to 4 questions. At least 3 questions. Out of 8 questions, 3 questions are going to come from this portion. Everything related to agriculture is going to be asked from you. See, major crops, cropping patterns in various parts of the country. As I explained, Kharif, Rabi, and what factors are determining the cropping choice. Different types of irrigation, tank irrigation, groundwater irrigation, right? Canal irrigation, different modes of irrigation facilities are there. Okay. Next, storage, transport, and marketing of agriculture produce. Very, very important. As I said, marketing issues, right? And issues related constraints, and e-technology in the aid of the farmers. Very important. Nowadays, there is inclusion of digital technology in the farming. Drones, spraying of fertilizer through drones, getting solar and getting weather updates, right? AI-based price projections. That means the farmer get to know before the sowing season that what could be the price of this commodity, so that the farmer can take a informed choice whether to sow this crop or go for another crop. So this is AI-based price projections. So all these kinds of technologies are being used to improve the income of the farmer. Okay, so this is very, very important. Okay, issues related to direct and indirect farm subsidies. MSP is a subsidy. Crop insurance is a subsidy, because the farmer is not paying the entire premium for the crop insurance. Half of the premium is paid by the government, so it is indirectly a subsidy given by the government. MSP is also subsidy, because the market price is 800 rupees, but the government is purchasing at 1000 rupees. That means that 2000 rupees is the government subsidy to the farmer. So all these kinds of all of them are subsidies. Multiple kinds of subsidies. Let's say fertilizer. Fertilizer is one important subsidy. For example, let's say there is a fertilizer manufacturer, urea manufacturer is there. That manufacturer is producing that urea at 1000 rupees per bag. A bag of urea is 1000 rupees manufacturing cost. Government says that you sell this at 800 rupees MRP. I am going to give you 200 rupees of compensation. So even today, urea is sold at a regulated price that is decided by the government. MRP is decided by the government even today. The manufacturing company cannot decide it. Manufacturing company can submit its manufacturing cost. See, look, for my company, it took 1100 rupees. So you pay me the compensation. So the government is paying the compensation for it. So this is a fertilizer subsidy. This is the subsidy paid by the government. Now there are certain issues with respect to these kind of subsidies. So what kind of issues? Who is going to purchase more fertilizer? The farmer with more land or the rich farmer, not a small farmer. So for whom the benefit is going? Rich farmer. So isn't it supposed to be the other way around? Ideally speaking, the small farmer is supposed to get the most of the subsidy benefits, but here the rich farmer is getting, right? So this is one unintended consequence of providing subsidies, right? So how to address this? Do we have to change the way subsidy is being delivered? So what kind of subsidy delivery mechanism is there? Best mechanism is DBT. You know what is DBT mechanism? You purchase LPG cylinder, not in the black market, the regular card. Okay, you have the DBT mechanism. Do you know how do you get it? You get compensation from the government to your bank account. That means, okay, before 2014, the cylinder used to be made available to each and every consumer at a subsidized price by the government. That means it was 800 rupees or 700 rupees, whatever the cost is. The difference between the manufacturing cost and government determined price, that is to be compensated to the company, not to the consumer. The consumer gets it at a cheaper cost in the market only. So there is no other way of selling it in the market, right? Now things changed after 2014. They changed it. They said that you purchase it at the market price. I'm not going to decide the MRP. The company is going to sell you at the market price. I'm going to compensate for the difference between the subsidized price and market price. So for that, you need to attach your Aadhaar card, account, mobile number. So whenever you purchase a cylinder, it is to be updated. So you receive the difference between the market price and subsidy price. If the market price is 1000 rupees and the subsidized price is 900 rupees, 100 rupees is directly credited into your account. Okay. So this reduces the leakage. This reduces the leakage generally. So earlier I can purchase the cylinder, but I can use it for any other purpose. But this subsidy is provided only for the domestic purpose, not for business purpose. Okay. So basically, there are a lot of problems with subsidy. This is one issue that was addressed, but there are a lot of issues with respect to the subsidy, especially farm subsidies. Right. So how are they going to address these issues? Issues related to the direct and indirect farm subsidies. Okay. Minimum support price. What are the issues with respect to the minimum support price? Why farmers are protesting despite getting MSP? That means there is something wrong with the MSP mechanism, or there are other issues which the MSP is clouding. This is very important, right? Next, public distribution system, objectives, functioning, limitations, revamping. Public distribution system means providing food grains through ration shops. What are the issues there? What are the original objective? What is happening right now? What are the issues and how to overcome these issues? Purely analytical questions are going to be asked. And issues of buffer stock and food security. Same. Government purchases the food grains from the market, maintains a stock, and it releases from time to time. But what is the problem with this? Looking at it, it looks fine, but a lot of food is being wasted sometimes. In the name of buffer stock, government is creating artificial scarcity. That was an unintended consequence. It wasn't intentional. So there are certain issues with respect to the buffer stock. So we have to overcome these issues. So these are the kind of questions: technology mission, economies of animal rearing, animal husbandry, all these kind of questions. Food processing and upstream and downstream requirements, supply chain management. Again, it's completely with respect to how the food grain is produced in the farm stage. How is it reaching to your fork or plate? Farm to fork, the life journey of agriculture commodity. From the farmer to the trader, trader to the wholesaler, to the retailer, to the food processing company, to the consumer. So what are the kind of barriers it is going through, and how to reduce this supply chain, how to reduce the length of the supply chain, so that the price received by the farmer and the price paid by the consumer is going to be almost equal. The vegetables that you purchase, probably less than half of the price at which you're purchasing is going to the farmer. Why? There is a supply chain between it. There is a trader, wholesaler, retailer, food processing company. Why can't we reduce this so that the price received by the farmer and the price paid by the consumer, it is a win-win situation for both of us, both the farmer and the consumer. So how to do it? If you want to understand how to overcome this issue, you need to understand the supply chain first. That is what you're going to supply chain management. Right? Very beautiful questions are going to be asked from this question. So it is pretty analytic. It is going to test your knowledge about the agriculture supply chain management. Next, land reforms in India and LPG reforms, infrastructure, investment models. This is the main syllabus of economy. Okay. So what do we need? The UPSC is going to test three important aspects. First and foremost, through prelims, it is going to test your conceptual understanding. Let's say, look at this. Let's take the case of inflation topic. From prelims, these are the kind of questions that are asked. Which one of the following is likely to be the most inflationary in its effects? Which means, what causes inflation? So it is demanding your knowledge about the basic causes and consequences of inflation. Okay. Now look at the mains question. It is going to test your analytical understanding. What are the causes of persistent high food inflation in India, and comment on the effectiveness of the monetary policy of the RBI to control this type of inflation. That means it is asking you to give your opinion whether the RBI has been successful in controlling the inflation or not. So it's more analytical. Then you can comment on upon it. The policies taken by the RBI in controlling inflation, it has its own limitations. It cannot do this job alone. There are other steps that are supposed to be taken by the government as well. So this is what you're supposed to write as an answer. So it tests your analytical understanding. So the same topic should be seen from the conceptual understanding, analytical understanding, and you're always supposed to add current affairs to it. So this is the current affairs knowledge. Now there is some change with respect to the how RBI is supposed to approach the inflation targeting. That means inflation is supposed to be controlled. RBI has the major responsibility with respect to the controlling inflation. Okay. So how RBI has been doing till now, and this news article is talking about how RBI is supposed to do the job. So adding current affairs is going to give solution to the problems. So you can mention some solution based on this your understanding of current affairs. So these are the three aspects that you're supposed to have. Understood? These are the basic textbooks from NCERT. Okay, if at all you want to start, before we start economy, you can start with Indian Economy and Development 11th class textbook. There is another 12th class textbook, and there are two 12th textbooks, one 11th class textbook. Don't go beyond these three sources as of now. Listen, I'm going to give PPTs and notes in my class. You do not have to worry about any other comprehensive material. So I generally don't want my students to look for multiple other sources when they're attending the class. I request you to attend the class and be attentive in the class to understand the concepts. Once your foundation is very solid and strong, your current affairs journey is going to be a cakewalk. If you understand inflation properly and the problems associated with inflation targeting, then it is very easy to understand the news article. So that is why I generally don't suggest students to read newspaper in the first 6 months of preparation. If you really want to have it, if you want to read it for fun, you can read it, but do not waste too much of time on it. Simple reason. See, I'm not saying that newspaper is wrong or anything, but the point is that there is a time and place for it. Let's say today there is an article about some current account deficit or some foreign direct investment policy of the government. If you don't start external sector chapter where I don't explain you what is foreign direct investment, how is it different from foreign portfolio investment, and what are the advantages and challenges faced by the Indian economy in dealing with foreign direct investment, you cannot understand the current affairs article. Even if you may take it to ego and start reading it, it will waste your 2 hours of time and not going to get anything out of it. That is not smart preparation. So wait for 6 months so that your some of the 50% of your static is done. Then you'll start understanding what is written in the newspaper. So do not get any FOMO. Current affairs will be given to you through multiple classes and material. Do not worry about it. You can have mentorship. You will people have, we're going to stay here, so you can always come and ask your doubts about it. So, but there is a time and place for it. At least for economy, do not start reading newspaper from day one. Do not do it. Do not waste your time. Right. So this is about, these are the textbooks, basic textbooks. Even if you don't want to touch these basic textbooks, completely fine. I'm going to give material which is going to be comprehensive. I generally don't dictate the notes. I try to discuss the topics as much as possible, and I'm going to give you the board work PPTs and also the notes for it in the PDF format. Right? What do I need from you guys? Revise it once you go home and solve MCQs or mains questions, whichever I ask you to do it. That is something that I wanted from you. Okay. Chalo. Let me start with let me discuss a small topic so that we can solve some questions if possible. Okay. Banking, as I said, it's very important topic. Generally, I start with banking chapter. Even when we start economy, this is the chapter that I'm going to start with. There are a lot of places where people may start with sectors of economy. Somebody start with GDP. Trust me, that is not at all a scientific way of doing it. When I start with the moment I talk about GDP, I need to talk about lot of terms which are completely Greek and Latin to you. So banking is one chapter where I believe that everybody might have interacted with a bank. At least you know what is a deposit and what is a loan. So I can start my base from there. Not only this is important, but also it is very easy to start with. Okay. Okay. Now, what is a bank? A bank is a financial intermediary or a financial institution whose main job is to mobilize the deposits and use that money to lend it to any customer. What is the major job of a bank? It takes the deposits from the depositors. So it raises deposits. Okay. And it provides loans to the customer. Okay. The deposits are known as liabilities of bank. Why is it a liability of a bank? Because the bank is supposed to pay back to the depositor. That means the depositors have a claim over the bank that I have given you 10 lakhs of deposit, give me my money back. So bank is accountable to them depositors. So these deposits are known as liabilities. Clear? Now the bank has given loan to a customer. So that means the bank is going to earn money out of these loans. Right? So these are known as assets. It is an asset of a bank because you're getting money out of it. Okay. Liabilities, assets. Okay. Now what does it do? Bank is going to charge interest rate on this depositor. So let's say the interest rate is how much? 10%. Let's say. Obviously, the interest rate that is paid by the bank on deposits is less than the interest rate that is charged on the customers. Obviously, he cannot give more in deposit rate interest rates more than what he is charging from the customers. So let's say it is 5%. The interest rate paid on deposits is 5%. The rest of the 5%, that is the margin of a bank. We call it interest margin. That interest margin is the profit of the bank. This is the basic core understanding of banking business. It is not as simple as it is, but it is the broad understanding of a banking business, right? Now, let's say a bank has received 100 crores of deposits. Out of this 100 crores of deposits, we made an assumption that the entire 100 crores were given as loans, which is not the case in reality. the bank cannot completely give its deposits in the form of loans. It has to keep a certain portion aside and not to use it for credit creation. Okay. So what are those requirements and why do we do it? That gives you the first topic. Okay. Let's say this is 100 crores of deposit received by the bank. Okay. Out of these 100 crores, a certain portion is kept aside as cash reserve ratio or CRR. Okay. What is this portion? Right now CRR is 3%. That means out of the total 100 crores of deposits received by the bank, 3 crores are supposed to be kept aside with RBI. It has to deposit with RBI. Just like how we deposit with the banks, banks deposit with RBI. Now, why do they do it? Why do they do it? Simple. Let's say not all the deposits are fixed deposits. Some of them are current accounts and savings account. That means if it is a salary account, I would want to withdraw the money whenever I want to, right? So there is always withdrawal demand from the depositors. So you cannot give all the money as loans. So you need to keep a certain amount of money. So obviously no bank is that stupid to give all the money as loans. It would definitely keep certain amount of cash with it, especially in the ATM, so that the demand depositors can withdraw it whenever they want it, right? Let's say there is a corruption activity that has taken place in that bank and it has caught the news headlines. Everybody is talking about that bank. The issue has spread like a wildfire in the social media. What are you going to do? Next day you're going to stand in line and get back all your deposits. So this situation is known as bank run situation. That means there is unusual demand for the withdrawal of money because the sentiment among the customers with respect to the bank has become negative. So there is no trust. So there is an erosion of trust now. So people would want to go and get back their money, but the bank has no such money, right? So obviously the bank cannot give back all of the depositors money at once. There is no way they can do it because they have spent money on the loans. So to avoid such kind of situation, or to prevent, or to help bank to deal with such situations, such kind of bank run situation, right? The government mandated that you keep certain amount of money with the RBI so that you can use it during the time of bank run. So basically it is more of a symbolic gesture. That means the customer would have confidence over the bank, believing that okay, my bank has certain amount of reserves with RBI. If this guy is not going to give the money, RBI is going to give the money. So I don't have to worry about and go to the bank and get back my money immediately. So it not only addresses it, it prevents bank run situation. So that is the purpose of CRR. That means bank is supposed to keep that money with RBI only in the form of cash. Okay. Now my question is, let's say the 100 crores of deposits that were raised by the bank is supposed to provide interest rate, including the 3 crore amount that is being kept with RBI, right? Now, will RBI is going to pay any interest rate on this cash reserve ratio? No, it doesn't pay any interest rate for cash reserve ratio. It is just like, see, you're earning a certain amount of income every month, but you have you don't have financial discipline. By 25th, but 23rd, you spend all your money and you scramble for money in the last 1 week. There is a big brother of yours who saw this kind of behavior in you, and he said that do one thing. Whenever you get the money, whenever you get the salary, give me 5% of your money. I'm going to keep it. I'll give it to you whenever you need money. Probably at the end of the month, you anyways scramble for money, so I'll give that money to you. So there is a trustworthy. So okay, this is nice. The person is holding me accountable. So you give the 5% of money to him, and he is going to give you whenever you need it. Are you going to charge any money from him for doing this service? The same thing. The same thing. So the individual is, the bank is not going to charge any money for it. Even if the bank wants, the RBI is not going to give any money, right? But the problem here is that in the given example, here I am getting my income, and out of my income I am giving 3% or 5% to my brother, big brother, who is going to give it to me whenever I need that money. But in this case, it is not the bank income. You're getting the money from a depositor for which you have to pay interest rate. So you raise the money by paying interest rate, that 3 crore rupees, and you're keeping with RBI for nothing. So this is the cost that you have to incur at any way, right? So first, let's start with this. What is the cash reserve ratio? Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Yes. Anyway, it's there are no such kind of loans where you pay, get today and take today and repay tomorrow. I didn't get your doubt. I'll solve it once the class is over, if you don't mind. So purpose cash reserve ratio. What is the purpose? Bank run situation. To address bank run situations. Okay. Now, what are the components? That means in what format you're supposed to keep your cash reserve ratio? Only cash. Okay. Only cash. That means 3 crores of cash is supposed to be kept with whom? Kept with RBI. Clear till now? And interest? No. No interest is paid. So this is about cash reserve ratio. Now, as I said, the entire deposits are not utilized for loans. So certain amount is kept aside for CRR. But there is another component, that is SLR. This is known as statutory liquidity ratio. Okay, what is it and why is it? First and foremost, all the loans given by a bank is considered as bank's assets. They're considered as bank's assets. Okay. Now, the assets in the financial market are determined by their liquidity nature. For example, let's say there are certain assets. They're easy to convert it into cash. For example, I have got gold. If I want to sell it off and get into convert it into cash, I can do it within 24 hours. The same evening I can go to any pawn shop or any jewelry market, and again I can convert it into cash. For example, you invested in a share or a bond, you want to convert it into the cash. You can do it tomorrow morning when the markets are going to open at 9 o'clock. You just immediately sell it off and you get back your money. Let's say you have a real estate property. You have a real estate property. Can you do the same thing with real estate property? It takes time. First of all, you need to find a prospective buyer, and the price is supposed to be agreed upon, and all the legal bases are covered first, and you need to register the sale deed. There is a process to it. Sometimes it may take 2 months, 3 months, or 6 months. Some properties are not even sold even after 1 year. So that asset which can be easily converted into cash is considered as liquid asset. That asset which cannot be easily converted into the cash is not a liquid asset. So the degree of liquidity changes from asset to asset. If it is a share, probably in 1 hour. If it is gold, probably 1 day. But if it is a real estate property, it may be 1 month or 1 year. So the degree of liquidity varies from asset to asset. Now, from the point of view of bank, the loans given by the bank, they are assets of the bank. Now, based on your understanding, tell me whether they are liquid assets or illiquid assets. You understand my question? A loan given by a bank is an asset of the bank. Is it a liquid asset or illiquid asset? Not liquid asset. Okay. Why is that? Mm, right. Right. Chalo. I'm the consumer, I'm the customer. I went to a bank and I took a loan for housing loan. The tenure of this housing loan is 15 years. Okay. And it has been just 6 months since I've taken the loan. I'm paying EMI every month. All of a sudden, the bank manager called me and says that I need money urgently. Can you repay the loan? Am I supposed to do it? There is no obligation on me to repay my loan. There is a tenure to it. So bank cannot convert their loans into cash as and when they want it. There is a specific tenure to it. Now my question is, what if bank needs money urgently? It cannot convert the loans into cash. Bank can take the loan. Bank's job is to give the loan, right? The problem is when the bank take loans to pay off some other debt, it has to pay interest rate again. Simple. That is why bank cannot give all the deposits in the form of loans. It has to keep certain deposits in liquid assets, which can be converted into cash as and when it wants. So those liquid assets like gold, right? Or it can invest in bond like government security. See, government, if you remember, I explained the bond. Government security is a government bond, that's it. Normal bond is issued by any private entity. Government security is a bond issued by the government. Okay, that's it. So they can purchase gold, they can purchase government security, but they cannot give loans. Okay, or you don't have anything, just keep it in the form of cash. So this is statutory liquid ratio. That means out of the total 100 crores of deposits, 18%, right now it is 18%, 18% is supposed to be kept in liquid assets, not in illiquid assets like loans. That's it. Because it will help the bank to it will enable the bank to manage the liquidity situation. That means the bank may have some operational expenditure to pay off the loans to pay off the salaries for the employees, to pay the electricity bill, to pay the diesel bills or anything, rent, anything. So to meet its operational expenditure, or to keep the money in the ATMs to meet the withdrawal demand. So banks are required to maintain a certain amount of liquid. When I say liquid, either cash or any other asset which can be converted into the cash immediately. So it need to maintain certain amount of liquid to meet its day-to-day expenditure or operational needs. So for that reason, you need to maintain 18% of SLR, statutory liquid ratio. That means out of the total deposit, 18% is supposed to be mandatorily kept in liquid assets, not in loans. That's it. So what is SLR here? The purpose of the SLR is liquid management. Understood? And in which component are you supposed to keep this SLR? Keep this SLR? Gold, government security. If nothing, keep it in the form of cash. So gold, GSEC, cash. Now, unlike CRR, which is supposed to be deposited and kept with the RBI, this is supposed to be kept with the bank itself because it is the investment, right? So kept with the bank. Hmm? In its wish, bank's wish. Bank can maintain in any other format. If you want to, if the bank wants to maintain the entire 18 crores in the form of gold, entire 18 crores in the form of government securities, or in the cash, it's up to you. But nobody would want to keep purely in the form of cash because cash is not going to give you any return. But if you keep it in the gold value may increase. You may get some profit out of it. See, anyways, you're paying interest rates on these deposits. So you want to make it some benefit out of it. So rather than keeping it in the form of cash, you would purchase gold and get the extra value so that you can pay off the interest rate for the depositors. Because that 18 crores, you got it from the depositors. It's not that you got it for free. So, or you purchase government securities out of it. So that the government securities provide you interest rate. So whether it gets interest rates, they may get. Because if they invest in the government securities, they get interest rate out of it. Unlike CRR, which is not going to give you any value to it. So you accept that 3% is my loss, because I'm rising deposits of 3 crores, but I'm not making any business out of it. I'm keeping with RBI, for which I'm not going to get anything. So you have to accept it. That's it. This is CRR and SLR. So out of 100 crores, let's say 18 plus 3, 21% is kept aside. The rest of the 79 crores can be given as loan to somebody. Understood? Now let's say, in this example, we assume that this is, let's say, 18%. This is, let's say, 3%. Okay. 21%, which means leftover is 79% available for lending. है ना? This is available for lending. I'll give you a hypothetical situation. These 18% to 33% is fixed by whom? RBI. It's not the government. It is the RBI which fixes this 18%, 3% CRR and SLR. Let's say next month RBI says that you don't have to keep 18%, just keep 8%, and it is only 2%. RBI says that. So the reserve requirements of CRR and SLR reduced to 10%. And the money that is available for lending is 90%, isn't it? It is available for lending. Now, tell me one thing. From here to here, where do you think the interest rates charged by the bank is going to be less? Second, why is it? Bank has got more money for lending creation, so lesser interest rate. If the bank has less money for lending creation, more interest rate. So whenever RBI wants the bank interest rates to be increased or decreased, it can change these reserve requirements. That's it. So when RBI increase the SLR, let's say it increasing to 20%, it is going to be reduced by 2 more percent. Let's say it is going to increase by 25%. The money that is available for lending is further going to be reduced. So less money available for lending, more interest rate they are charging. If you're reducing this more amount of money that is available, so less interest rate. So RBI is going to determine the interest rates charged by the banks indirectly. RBI is never going to say that this is the amount of interest rate that you're going to charge. No, it's up to the bank. But you're indirectly controlled by RBI. This is how RBI is going to control money supply in the market. Where did we hear this word money supply? Inflation. So whenever RBI wants to control the inflation, it has to increase the interest rates. As I said, interest rates are cheaper, that means more demand. So you have to increase the interest rates, right? How do you increase the interest rates? You can't call the SBI manager and say, CMD and say that RBI governor cannot call up and say that reduce your interest rates or increase your interest rates. No, it's a separate autonomous business organization. You cannot change the day-to-day rates. You cannot regulate it. You do it indirectly. You say that now I'm increasing SLR to 25%. That's it. So they will be forced to increase their interest rate. So this is it. Okay. Now try answering this question. Which one of the following is not included in the asset of a commercial bank in India? Probably there are certain terms which are not known to you, but still you can answer this question if you understand the basic assets and liabilities. Deposits? Anybody else? Yes, deposits. It is liability. It is a liability. So it's not an asset. Right? That's it. Answer is B. Good. It is the previous year question which was asked in 2019. Okay. Try answering this question. 2016. Now think of it. See, basis point means 0.5%. 50 basis point means 0.5%. Okay. When RBI reduces the statutory liquid ratio, that means SLR, by 50 basis points, that means it reduced by 0.5%. Which one of the following is likely to happen? SLR is being reduced. Clear? Good. Scheduled commercial banks may cut their lending rates. That's it. Clear? There is inflation. See, we are talking about money supply, right? This is how the government is RBI is going to control the money supply by increasing the SLR or decreasing the SLR, increasing the CRR or decreasing the CRR. Why does it do? This is the reason why it wants to do that. Right? That's it. So this is the basic concept. So that's it. Any doubts? We'll start with banking whenever we start with economy. Okay. As I said, first we'll be done with the prelims topics: banking, money supply, monetary policy, fiscal policy, inflation, all these things. I spend most of my class in explaining it and asking questions. Okay. I do not believe in, at least for my subject, economy, I do not believe in dictating the notes. If you want, I'll do it. But first, wait for 2-3 classes. If you believe that that is working for you, let's go ahead with this. If you believe that you want it to be dictated by me, so I'll do that, whichever is possible. But whenever I get more time to discuss, I can touch upon more dimensions. I can give more questions. Okay, I can talk about 100 other possibilities so that we can dwell into the conceptual understanding. Once you understand that concept, all that you're supposed to do is go back and read the PDF. That's it. Generally, I do make PPTs. Now it is just a random, PPT. But in generally, I do make such PPTs. The tables. This is how I'm going to do it. So let's say if this is the question, if this is the topic CR and SLR, this is how I'm going to explain. So I'm going to give you the PPT as well. So if at all you're not able to make a running notes, I suggest you to not to get behind running notes. Don't waste your time making running notes while I'm explaining here. It's up to you. If you have FOMO, you can do it, but I suggest you not to do it. Spend the time on understanding the concepts. If you have any doubts, please do ask right away. Okay, so I'll try to solve your doubts in the process of class itself. So when this PPT is given and PDF is given, so I don't think there is any need for any material. Okay, and in each and every class, I give some PYQs just like I'm doing it here right now. So depending upon the topic, the number of PYQs, sometimes you may get 8 to 10 PYQs also. So go home, revise the PYQs and revise the notes. If at all it's the main topic, then I'm going to give you the PDF there also. I'm not going to dictate notes. I'll explain the topic. You go home, read the PDF and answer the question. At least 2 questions are supposed to be answered from my class. That is the kind of commitment that I expect. It is going to disappoint me very seriously. I'm telling you right now, if you do not revise it, I may not give too much of emphasis on those kind of students, but the reason is simple. During the foundation, you're supposed to have strong grip over the concept. You don't do it and you come after 8 months or 9 months and say that this is a place where I have a doubt. There's nothing much I can do about it. It's not that I'm not going to help you. The problem is, no matter what I do after 8 months or after 1 year, it's not going to add any value to your preparation. So foundation stage is going to decide your future. So I suggest you to spend more time on the foundation lectures, no matter which subject is it. After the topic is done, let's say 2.5 hours or 3 hours of class, go back, revise it properly. It may sound very, duplication of efforts. It may sound like, boring activity, but the most boring activities are going to give you result. Okay, that's it. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. No doubts? Hmm. 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 सिंपल सिंपल देखो, यहाँ पे पहले SLR कितना था? 18%. Now government RBI says that I am reducing SLR to 8%. So now what happened? Your SLR commitment is only 8%. Let's say CRR is also reduced. Forget about CLR. Now 8% reduced. Now you have got more money available for lending. पहले बैंक के पास 79 crores. Bank used to have 79 crores. Now bank has 90 crores. So more money. So less interest rate. Let's say bank has only 79 crores to offer as credit. It charges more interest rate. Now it has got 90 crores. Now I'm just talking about 79 and 90. Just think of thousands of crores held by the banks. Think of it as 7,000 crores and 9,000 crores. So the bank has extra 2,000 crores because SLR has been reduced. You have got extra 2,000 crores. So you now will charge less interest rate. So that's it. Okay. So take this, solve them if you can. Okay. Online students, any doubts? Just do that. Any doubts? Okay, I'm assuming there are no doubts. Okay, if at all you have any doubts, you can contact me. Okay, or which sir. You can contact me. Okay. Okay, guys. See you. Let's meet whenever we start economy. Okay. All the best. See you guys.